Hello everyone, CryptoEat here, and welcome to a new live stream this week. I have been taking a couple of days off since the last one. I wanted to give the market a couple of days to play out the way we described how it would probably play out, and actually it did exactly what we predicted last week in our live streams. If you haven't watched those live streams, make sure you do. There are a lot of nice examples of short entries that were posted and predictions for drops for several altcoins as well as Bitcoin based on the 2 day fake up, and it actually played out stronger than anticipated. So all the targets hit. So if you didn't watch the last week live streams, make sure to do so. There are nice case studies and examples for how to use the MTF wave indicator. And before I start, please guys, I need to remind you that this is by no means to be considered financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. If you need financial advice, you need to talk to your own financial advisor. So let us start. Okay, and also guys, if you enjoy the content, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. If you want to try out the MTF wave indicator, I can give you a 2 weeks trial and teach you how to use it meanwhile. And for that you need to go to our Discord. The link is in the description. Join the Discord and then contact me via direct message there and ask for access. Okay, so let's start. Let's start by taking a look at Bitcoin. So the last thing that we were talking about in last streams was this current 2 day fake up. So we had this current 2 day fake up at the time of the last stream, and since then we had Bitcoin drop down to close this gap, and it dropped by 16%. It dropped all the way from $63,000 to $53,700, which is a very strong drop. And now it is our time to be re-evaluating whether this is it for a local bottom, or whether it is expected to continue dropping or not. And as you guys can remember, my first time frame to be looking at was the 1 month time frame. And when you look at this time frame, it is actually very bullish, or not very bullish, but bullish, because the bullish thing about it is this current fake down, okay, as well as this green curving up. And for those who didn't watch anything about the MTF yet, let me just show you why for me this is considered bullish. Just a second. So for me this is considered bullish simply, let me just make a neater one, sorry. 1 second guys. Yep. So for me this is considered a bullish one due to the fact that when you look at the ideal stochastic wave reversal, which is here, what you can see here is that we are usually expected to curve up with green, and at the same time we get this fake down here where gray taps down below green and blue is far away from gray, and usually this is to be considered the long entry. And when you look at the 1 month time frame on Bitcoin, we had first one fake down here, which actually didn't go all the way down, and this fake down gave the entry there, which actually pumped 190% afterwards. And then if by this logic we should be actually approaching the second entry, okay. But as I described last time, the tricky thing about this time frame is that each candle is actually 1 month. So each candle is representing 30 days. And for this fake down to play out, it can either first close this candle and then starting to move up, or it can start to move up from here straight away. So it actually, the bottom would be here and then it would move up, or it can stay flat for one more time and then pull up. So if we were to do a simple analysis based on time only and nothing else, I would say that for this fake down to play out, usually what it should take is either within this current candle or the next one or the one after. So we are talking about a time frame anywhere between 0 days and 90 days. Okay, literally anywhere. It's not gonna be in the middle or at the end. I'm not leaning towards the middle or the end or the start. It can be literally anywhere. Okay, and in order to see this in a better way, or try and time our entry, we should be zooming in. And the criteria for zooming in is to try and zoom in a way that this gray curve here should actually look like a green stochastic wave like the one in here. Okay, and for that the first step would be to mark the start of this wave in question, okay, which is the start at the peak of it and at the peak of the price action. And then what we should be doing is we should be zooming at a time frame which is roughly a tenth of the current time frame. And let me just show you. If we go, for example, here at the 3-day, which is a tenth of the current time frame, what you can see here is we have this gearing down of green, and we have gray and blue and green all now converged together at the very bottom, which is an extreme oversold condition. And usually this here, if you want to compare it to anything, we are at this part here currently of green, the first green highlight. And as you know, a stochastic wave does not necessarily have to have this long part where there are several green highlights and flat horizontal at the bottom green. It can be shorter, can be longer, can only be one highlight, could be none, okay, but this is the ideal one, okay. So potentially every single time we get this tap down from gray, this could be the local bottom. And in order to try and identify whether this is the local bottom or just one, there are other things we need to do. But regardless of that, as I explained this several times before, the beauty of this zoom in method is that it gives you probably an entry at a local bottom, and even if it's not the last the last low, at least it gives you a good entry or a precision entry at this local bottom in a way that enables you to move your stop loss to break even, so that in case that this was not the actual local bottom and it will go lower, you have already had this buffer bounce where you could move your stop loss to break even, and then you are safe, meaning you will not lose money when it goes lower. Okay, so at this point on the 3-day, where we are is actually the first one. Ideally, for me to enter, I would want to see green curving slightly upwards, like that. Let me just color this for you. Yeah, so ideally I would want to see green like that, and then I would want to see another tap up and another tap down, okay? Because if this was to happen, we would probably try and enter here, okay? So that is if we are looking at the 3-day time frame, okay? If we are looking at the 2-day, this already is kind of playing out. Why? Because the 2-day also had this peak at the top of the price action here, and it had this fake up which closed. So it had this fake up that we were talking about last time, and this fake up actually closed as we've been discussing, okay? I just need a minute. So yeah, here we had this fake up upwards, okay, and then we had this gap close when we hit the last low. One thing that I don't like now after this new 2-day candle closed, and today also we're gonna get another close, and one thing I don't like at this moment is that, as you can see here, when we look at this current 2-day MTF, we didn't have this very clean convergence or gap close where gray and blue actually met, but instead we had gray and blue moving in opposite directions. So when you see blue moving down and gray moving up, what does this usually mean? It means that this is gonna continue going slightly upwards, and this is gonna stay down, and then at some point this is gonna rebound very hard backwards. Okay, so this is actually in our case a bearish sign. It's a small sign and it can vanish very easily, but it's a small bearish sign, especially if today closes, and then when today the 2-day candle closes and this moves more without you seeing that blue is curving upwards. So this would be more bearish than it is now. So after today's close, if you see gray moving upwards and blue staying at oversold, this is gonna be bearish and indicative of a potential next leg down. But if you start seeing blue actually pulling upwards and gray pulling upwards together, this could be the sign of a reversal. So these are things to be looking at. Let me just, yeah, so the 2-day here, the next step for us would be simply also to zoom in on this, on the 4-hour, like we explained last couple of times. And when you look at the 4-hour, this is actually kind of showing you what we already discussed here, which is this is not looking like a very clean reversal. Why? Because we should have seen something do something like that. We should have seen green do like that, but at the same time we should have seen gray push upwards with blue. But instead we are seeing now gray crossing over down. Okay, so this is not very neat here. When you look here, it's not very neat, and you can't really deduct a lot from it. Okay, if you look at the 3-day, it gets a little bit clearer. So for me here, what I would be waiting for is for this to tap down. Maybe then we get ourselves a small scalp long upwards. So when this taps down here, we might be getting an entry to push up, and then what probably would happen here on the 4-hour is this would be doing this zigzaggy creep up, and you would have green curving up as well. And then after that, on the next tap down on the 4-hour, this would be the confirmation for a safer long entry with stop loss below swing low. Okay, and this could be then a potential local bottom that is worth trading. So okay, and another thing we should be looking at is the 12-hour, because this was of interest yesterday. The 12-hour yesterday before this current drop was actually faking up very strongly. Now it's faking up again. So another time frame to examine is this current wave here. So we would want to see this as a full stochastic wave, and in order to do so, we should move up to the 72-minute time frame or the 1 hour, depending what you like to do, or the 90-minute. All could actually do it for us. And it's still very unreadable. The reason for that is because we have green here, which was actually expected to go down and do a proper reversal instead of just tricking us and then doing this curve upwards. Okay, so my conclusion after all these time frames for Bitcoin is probably what's going to happen is that on the short term time frame, we should be expected to try and push upwards slightly. Okay, on the you could see here, for example, this closed now the candle and now it pushed slightly upwards. So on this time frame, for example, we could expect like a push like this. On the larger time frames, maybe it's not so bullish, but we will have to look at the daily close and evaluate from there. So let's take a look at today's biggest gainers and biggest losers in the altcoin market. So as you know, the first thing I do when I try and evaluate the crypto market is I look at the spot USDT market, and then I start by making a list out of the biggest gainers and biggest losers, and then also I take a look at the 1 hour time frame and then see which are currently actually pushing up or down the volatile ones. So today we should be examining ELF as well as TIA, Curve, and NOT, and DYM. We could add Bonk if we have the time for it. These are the biggest gainers, and then for the biggest losers we have DOC. Probably this coin died. I might take a quick look at it or not. We had Bond, MDX, Pulse, and 100,000 sats. Actually, I'm not very interested in the first four or the first three, because they plummeted really hard, and usually it's not safe playing with a coin that dropped 50%. There could be fundamentals at play here that we would not see on the chart, so I'm gonna add ERN. Okay, maybe also TRB because I haven't looked at this for a while. And then we are going to use our scanner, our own scanner. So looking at those, let's take a look at the first one. We have ELF. So when we zoom out on this one, let's start with 1 month time frame here, and zoom out, and then zoom in backwards to the 3-day. Should be here, and then zoom more in on the 6 hour. Zoom out. What have I been looking for when I was zooming out and zooming in? I was looking for a clear gray and blue curve, which is very flat, not something that is halfway up or halfway down. So in order to mark the starting point, and actually I didn't need to do that because on the price action it's very clear that this is the bottom, so you should just, and that this is one wave, so you should just mark this start and then zoom in more. Exactly, so here you can see a very clean and clear MTF. Let me grab for you something here quickly. So looking at this, a lot of similarities here. We had this current tap down, and afterwards it pushed up. Okay, at this tap down we had this over 30% push, and now we are somewhere here at this peak here. Okay, and the next step would be trying to locate this bottom or this secondary long entry over there, and for that we would need gray to tap down here, because trying to long here is simply suicide. So that's why we should be targeting this next step up, and for that I'm gonna be setting an alert and writing to myself 20 elf possible long, and then write tap down 2 hour or 3 hours, sorry, 1 day. Okay, this way I know the time frame combination. So that's elf. So what I'm looking for elf is a correction probably somewhere like this. So somewhere all the way here, and then maybe it's gonna push up again. So and at the same time I'm looking for gray tapping down and then going back up, and this is where I'm going to be setting my alert over here. And when that happens, I'm gonna mark this as the start and then zoom back in to see a reversal on lower time frames. Okay, so this was elf. Let me just move elf higher on my watch list so I don't forget about it. Just a second.